Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? It's Monday, August 26, 2024, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Could Florida be in play? Two of my guests say absolutely. We'll talk about that. Also, Donald Trump whining and complaining about debating Vice President Kamala Harris. Her team fires back in a huge way. 200 former officials who work for Republican presidential candidates, they are endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. We'll talk about that. Also, I got a whole lot to say about a bunch of folk who are running their mouths. Oh, y'all, we about to bring the funk right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black media. He makes...
Whatever the piss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, we're 71 days away from when America will choose the next president. Of course, swing states such as Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, those seven are what folks are focused on. But the reality is, Florida is that one of the states that could be in play. Well, Democratic chair there, Nikki Fried, says don't overlook the Sunshine State, the role they could play in this election. Now, keep in mind, over the last 3 or 4 cycles, Florida has been a red state, primarily because Democrats there have been grossly out-organized, outmaneuvered. It has been, the leadership they have had there has been utterly awful. But with Nikki Fried, who was the last Democrat elected statewide, becoming party chair, they've had successes. The other day, she talked about why Florida cannot be ignored in 2024.
Nikki, Florida's been a great tease for Democrats in the last 2 presidential elections. I noticed the other day Republicans now have a huge registration advantage. You also have some pluses. You have abortion and marijuana on the ballot, which presumably would bring out some of your voters. Do you really have a shot in Florida this year?
We do. We have a huge shot. And you know, even the misrepresentation of the voter registration gap. And I think most people, not only in Florida but across the country, don't understand exactly what happened. So in 2022, under the leadership of Ron DeSantis and Republicans, they passed a new law that every single year there has to be list maintenance for the supervisors of elections. And they changed the definition of an active voter. So last year alone, 880,000 Democrats ended up on the inactive list. And that is what's making this difference. They all can still vote. And of course, there's a disproportionate amount of African American and Hispanics that are on that list. About 40% are African American and 30% are Hispanic. And those are people that may not have voted in 2022. I think that is historically known that the Democrats, the bottom fell out in November of 2022 with 1 million Democrats not showing up in the gubernatorial race. And a lot of those people end up on this inactive list. So when we are able to talk to those voters who may not have been feeling touched in the last 2 election cycles, have a reason to come out this time, they all can vote. And that's how we start to make up some of those gaps. And Florida has now almost 1/3 of our electorate is independent. And they have been breaking for Democrats 65 to 70%. We saw that in the mayor's race in Jacksonville last year, flipping one of our House seats this year. And so when an energized Democratic base that is organized, that is boots on the ground, we too have about 25,000 new volunteers just in the last 3 weeks. And we have a new organization that's organizing, that's putting all those boots on the ground. We hit 1 million doors as of this past weekend from the beginning of 2024, 1.3 million phone calls in the last, since getting up to our primary, which is on tomorrow, Tuesday. And so these are the opportunities. So collectively, we have an energized base. We have a state that is pissed off that Ron DeSantis has taken us into such an extreme direction in which property insurance is still the #1 issue. Property insurance under DeSantis' leadership, or lack thereof, has grown 400% since he became governor. It's the highest in the country. 6-week abortion ban, book banning, decimation of our complete education system, both from K through 12, higher ed, abortion's on the ballot, cannabis is on the ballot, and a fractured Republican Party. Ron DeSantis doesn't want Donald Trump or Rick Scott to win. It hurts his brand. He'd rather see them lose, and so he can go out in 2028 and say, see, I should have been your nominee in 24. So there's interesting dynamics that are happening in our state. On top of that, we are the 2nd largest student population outside of California, between our state universities, our HBCUs, our colleges, and when they are energized, and we have been doing dorm storms all week and seeing just huge numbers of voter registration to that generation, all of these things are converging at the same moment of a perfect storm that don't sleep on Florida.
Joining us right now is Christopher Bouzy, the CEO of Spoutible, and historian Dr. Marvin Dunn. Glad to have both of them here. I'm going to start with you, Christopher. You've been on social media the last several weeks saying over and over and over again, Florida is in play. You've had the Florida Republican State Party chair sitting here just telling you you're nuts. Other people say you're crazy. What are you seeing? How are you making that determination?
Hey, Roland, how you doing? Actually, it's been months now that I've been saying this. Before Harris came in, and the reason why I'm saying this is quite a few things, but mainly what Nikki Fried said. There's a lot that's happening in Florida, and I agree with her. I would call it the perfect storm. But also on top of that, you have folks who are just fed up with Trump. To the point, that video was just a little bit old. It's now at 33,000 volunteers, and 3% or so of those people who volunteered identified as Republicans. So on top of everything Nikki Fried stated, with cannabis being on the ballot, abortion being on the ballot, women just being pissed off, 3% of Republicans who signed up are now volunteering for VP Harris. And that number is very important because I've been saying for months, I predict that it's going to be roughly 3 to 5-ish% of Republicans who are not going to support Trump this cycle. If Trump loses 3% of his support in Florida, combined with everything Nikki Fried stated in that video, Democrats will win Florida.
One of the things, Dr. Marvin Dunn, the Democrats have done, you finally now have a real party. You have folks who have been focused on mobilizing, organizing. I mean, you had party leaders before who couldn't raise money, who had no message. They were all over the place. And over the last year, the work that Fried has done, along with Nikki Barnes and others, I mean, so you now have a workable party. What are you seeing? Because you also tweeted something. It said that 70% of eligible black voters in Florida voted for Biden in 2020.
That's correct. 71% of the black vote turned out for Barack Obama. And if that number is even approached, Harris will win Florida.
I'm sorry. You said 71% of the black vote in Florida turned out for Obama in 2008. Because okay, got it. Okay, go ahead.
That's correct. And when a black person is head of the ticket, black people go to the polls. And when black folks perceive a racial enemy, as Trump is, all the more motivation for blacks to vote. I'm convinced that the black population of Florida will turn out in such numbers that they will elect the next president of the United States, even if Kamala Harris does not step in Florida at all.
On that particular point there, Chris, and I have long been saying on this show, on radio and others, that when black people vote our numbers, when we're focused on capacity, we change the game. And I keep saying the threshold is 70% or higher. We saw even in the race with Andrew Gillum versus Ron DeSantis for governor, where in those blue counties they're not voting at 65, 70%. It was in the 54, 57% range. And so what you're looking at is with these volunteers signing up and with what we saw last week, defeating Ron DeSantis candidates for the school board, that you have a perfect storm that's developing where Democrats can be extremely competitive and actually win.
Yes, absolutely, and I also agree. I'm sorry with your previous guest. When you one who is black at the top of the ticket, whether it was Obama, whether it was Gillum, black folks, they come out. And if you can get that number up there, that percentage up to the 70-ish, just a little bit above that, you're in a good position. But on top of that, let's not forget enthusiasm, momentum, all of that plays a part in this. And right now, VP Harris has it. We just saw with the convention, folks are, fired up, and I've been calling it a super spreader event. And I'm not talking about COVID-19. I'm talking about the joy, the enthusiasm, all that stuff. They're bringing this stuff back to, their districts, and I do think people are fired up, and that's what she needs. So, not only do I think Florida is in play, I actually do think she's going to win Florida, because there's a difference between it being in play and actually, I believe she's going to win, and I do believe she's going to flip Florida, and I also think that that Senate seat is also going to flip as well.
Marvin, there's somebody just posted this graphic on social media, and it shows announced field offices, the difference between Harris and Trump. In Wisconsin, Harris 48, Trump 40, Michigan 30-12, Georgia 24-12. But so at the bottom there, you see Florida at 12-2. It said total field staff for Harris 1,500, volunteers 400,000, compared to field staff of 300 and volunteers 14,000 for Donald Trump. So Florida's a big state. 12 field offices isn't a lot. So what do you want to see happen? There are others who say, listen, they should not throw any money in Florida. They should keep their focus on the other 7 states.
Yeah, but Roland, they're spending money in Florida now.
Okay.
Trump is now buying ad time, TV ad time in Florida.
Okay.
Why is that? We just found that out today. They're spending money in Florida. Why? They're worried about this state. They should be. Florida's not as red as people think.
Also, Christopher, Politico dropped a story talking about Vice President Kamala Harris really focusing on Latino vote. And this story was quite interesting. This was even before Biden announced he wasn't going to run. There was a meeting in February at the Vice President's mansion, and she wanted to know. She was concerned about the Latino vote and also the state of Spanish language media in the race as well. So this shows you, and this was a huge mistake that Democrats made in 2020, not really focusing on Spanish language media. Same thing in 2016. And so this is a candidate who understood as early as February of this year the importance of the Latino vote. And we're now seeing that not just here, in other states, where she has a 24-point advantage among Latinos. And in Florida, you can't just say Latino vote. You got to look at it a lot different. Cubans and Venezuelans and folks. Obviously, you also got Haitians, you got Dominicans. And so it's a different, you got to really do a lot of micro-targeting in Florida to turn the vote out.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely, yeah.
Hold on, Marvin, hold on a second. Christopher, then Marvin, go ahead.
Yes, no, you're absolutely correct. You have to micro target because it's the Latino vote is not a monolith, right? And we know that. So she is correct to be concerned about that. And this is where Democrats have failed in the past. You've talked about Nikki Fried, Nikki Barnes, and the rest of those folks. They are doing what they're supposed to be doing there. But I also just want to kind of just go back a bit in terms of the money that's being raised and things like that. Look. Folks are saying to ignore Florida. That is at their peril, and I will explain why really quickly, Roland. If Democrats don't win Montana, they need Florida to keep the Senate. They must win Florida. Also, when it comes to the House, we saw what happened in 2022 when the bottom fell out in Florida, and Democrats would have been able to hold the House if not for Florida and New York. So this whole idea that, let's just ignore Florida and let's focus on other places, it's absurd because Democrats have to win that Senate seat to run up the score just in case Democrats do not win in Montana. So Democrats can't ignore Florida.
Marvin, go ahead.
I just want to say that Democrats aren't just fired up. They're angry. It's a different element in this election. Black people are really angry, particularly in Florida at DeSantis. So I think there's a lot of underestimation of the power of the black vote once people are angry as they are at what could be accomplished in the state. The black vote in Florida may be the fact or the factor that ends up electing the next president of the United States.
All right, then, Dr. Marvin Dunn and Christopher Bouzy, I certainly appreciate both of y'all being on today's show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot. Going to go to a break. We come back, chat with my panel about this and some other stuff. Folks, there's a lot going on, and yeah, you see me rocking the Georgia and that's exactly what we have to do for this election. We'll be right back.
On Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach. Women of color are starting 90% of the businesses in this country. That's the good news. The bad news, as a rule, we're not making nearly as much as everyone else. But joining us on the next Get Wealthy episode is Betty Hines. She's a business strategist, and she's showing women how to elevate other women.
I don't like to say this openly, but we're getting better at it. Women struggle with collaborating with each other. And for that reason, one of the things that I demonstrate in the sessions that I have is that you can go further together if you collaborate.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up? It's Sammy Roman.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, my panel, Dr. Julianne Malveaux, President Emerita, Bennett College, also economist and author, joining us out of D.C. Derek Jackson, Georgia State Representative out of Atlanta. Joy Cheney, founder of Joy Strategies out of D.C. The thing here, Joy, I'll start with you. And again, Florida has been written off, frankly, because it's been grossly mismanaged by Democrats in that state. You finally have a competent leader in Nikki Fried, and you're seeing the results of real leadership. And as this shirt says, they are organizing, they're mobilizing, they're strategizing, and that's why Florida looks a lot different in 2024.
No, it does. And, I think the other reason is we've lost. And sometimes when you've lost a couple of times, you start to get down on the state. And we've lost in times where we thought we were going to do a lot better. So there are real concerns about Florida. I know that some were still concerned about the turnout from last Tuesday. So the Florida Democratic Party definitely has something to prove. But I think what is clear when you look at where they're putting their money, the campaign, the Harris-Walz campaign is putting their money, is they're saying, look, we're going to have more than what we need. And we're going to make a play for Florida. DeSantis is much weaker than we thought he was going to be. If folks remember, we thought we could have had a DeSantis ticket. in the Republican Party. That did not happen. He is now sulking and licking his wounds in Florida, and he's at odds with Donald Trump. But we cannot overlook that there are a lot of nice Republicans in Florida who won't tell people that they're supporting Donald Trump because they know that that's not a nice thing to do, but they are actually going to vote for him. So we have to do, in order for us to win Florida, we would have to go well beyond what any poll says. So whatever you see, we need to be 6 points beyond that at least. So that I'm not saying it's not possible. We got to try. In fact, for the future, we have to try. But it's going to be a tough uphill battle.
Well, here's the deal here, Derek. At the end of the day, go to my iPad. If you look at the map, here's the reality. Florida has 30 electoral college votes. You see that here at the bottom. If you look at North Carolina, 16, Virginia, 13, Pennsylvania, 19. When you look at Wisconsin, 10, Michigan, 15. When you look at Colorado, you look at over here, Arizona, 11, Nevada, 6. Bottom line is this. You win Florida, hell, you don't need Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Wisconsin and Pennsylvania is 29 electoral college votes. Wisconsin, let's say Wisconsin and Michigan, that's 25 electoral college votes. And so what you're hearing here is, bottom line is, you put Florida back in play, it absolutely changes the map for Vice President Kamala Harris, Governor Tim Walz, and Democrats.
You know, Roland, while we were all last week in Chicago during the DNC, before we left, the Harris and Walz team, they were, I'm giving a little insight here. They're trying to go after the 2008 Electoral College map. I'm not sure if your team can pull it up, but their goal is to reach that 365 Electoral College votes that Barack Obama did in 2008. And so when you look at that map, Roland, it includes Florida. It includes Ohio. And so when you look at where they're opening up these offices, I mean, think about the comparison and contrast that you put up there with your previous guest. 1,500 offices versus 300 for Trump. They got 400,000 volunteers versus 14,000 volunteers. And so when you think about that, and they were raised over $600 million, right? Their goal, the Harris and Walz campaign team, they're going for the juggler. And when you think about that map, Roland, the 2008 map, it clearly demonstrates that they're following the playbook that Barack Obama 2008 team did. And they have the resources, the money, the field offices, the volunteers, the enthusiasm. They're strategizing, organizing, and mobilizing to do exactly the same as that map.
Well, if you look at this map, again, Julian, I'm going to go back to it so you see here. So let's just say, and how on this map here, I have Democrats winning Virginia, North Carolina. Let's just say, again, North Carolina stays red. Okay, they go to 218, Democrats at 310. Let's just, again, so this is how Florida changes the whole deal. If I turn Florida red, you see right here, then all of a sudden, Republicans go up to 248, Democrats are down to 280. And so on this map here, I have Democrats winning Nevada, winning Arizona, winning Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. So this, I would dare say, that Democrats will say is the realistic map. Because, again, as you see, Republicans winning Ohio, only difference is that one delegate in Nebraska, that one delegate would go to them. So really, you would pick up one there. And so this is sort of how they're thinking. And again, when you start looking at why states matter, if I take Arizona and I make Arizona red, all of a sudden they're at 269. And then that one delegate that's in Nebraska, that puts them at 270. And so that's really how they're thinking. But, Julian, when you're looking at with the Latino vote, which is also critical, again, that's why Arizona changes. And so And again, so some people say it's wishful thinking, but I really think when you look at the momentum, you look at how they're moving, I think they could feel good about Florida. I will not say, based on my conversation with the campaign, that they think Florida is in play, but they can play around in Florida. And if that thing begins to keep building, then I think you might see a changing strategy come late September and October.
No, Roland, I'm thinking back to 2016 and the campaign that Hillary Clinton had, the fact that she ended her campaign with money in the bank. I mean, every time we talk about it, group of us, we get annoyed. Had she put some resources into Michigan, had she put some resources into Wisconsin, we would have had a whole different story. So I'm thinking that the Harris...
Remember, she didn't even show up in Wisconsin. She never even stepped foot in Wisconsin.
Precisely. And all those black people in Milwaukee could give me a break. But so what I'm thinking about the resources that Harris-Walz campaign has and how they choose to deploy their resources. I think that Florida is in play. I'm persuaded by the brothers you had on earlier, but also by what I hear from folks. In play, but not won. Nothing is won. Here's the biggest thing for the Harris-Walz campaign. People cannot be complacent. We had a great week in Chicago, but there are a lot of people who, okay, we got this. No, we don't have this. There is no way that we have this. We have got to work our hind parts off for this ticket, and we have got to make sure not only that this ticket, but when we look at Maryland, Angela also Brooks, I don't think the sister in Delaware is any trouble. She's got that, but nobody has anything. We need to have the most massive turnout so there are no questions about what's up. Imagine given the Supreme Court and thinking about 2000 and Gore Bush, that the Supreme Court put their hands on the scale, and Gore, being the good American that he is, he basically threw the towel in too soon. But hey, that's neither here nor there. That was then. But the point about that point is if the Supreme Court is placed in a position to rule, we know what they're going to do. We know who they are. We know what they're going to do. And so we just have to have the most massive turnout, so that there will be no questions about the results are. And I'm a little bit afraid about that because I was on a plane coming back Friday from Chicago, and I saw a sister friend, and she gave me a high five. She said, "We got this." And the plane is not the place to give people political lessons. But I was like, "Sister, please," and, she was going in the back. I was sitting in the front. I didn't have time. I started to get up and go back there, but, I had my little challenges. But I was horrified that I saw her have baggage claim, and I said, "Do you really think we got this?" "Oh, yeah. Didn't you see this?" I said, "That was entertainment. Roll your sleeves up." My mama used to talk about elbow grease, and that's what we need. We got the enthusiasm. We all that. Now we need elbow grease. We need to roll our sleeves up. We need to get our scours out. We need to look for every vote we can get.
Yeah.
It's in the battleground states, but in every state.
Right. And the thing here is, listen, the Vice President Kamala Harris has already said, we are running as the underdog. And I dare say, in the last 2 weeks, and yes, that Comey crap he pulled was atrocious. But in the final 10 days, Hillary's campaign took their foot off the gas. I dare say Andrew Gillum's campaign in the final 72 hours took their foot off the gas. I'm going to use an example of what they say in track and field. You run through the tape. You run through the tape. You run hard until you cross the tape. And so, absolutely, folks, do not make an assumption. If you're living in any of these battleground states, election's over, VP has got in the bag. Absolutely not. We must be going hard every single day for every single vote to defeat Trump, MAGA, and all of these folks. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. I got to go to break. We come back. More on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, including we'll be talking about the microphone battle. Donald Trump, his team, they want the mics muted. Vice President Kamala Harris like, no, player, keep it open. We'll discuss that next on Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Hey, y'all support is critical. Remember I was telling y'all it was cost us about $25,000 for the Democrat National Convention? No, it was actually $55,000. All of our expenses for the week was $55,000. So your support is critical. So please make your contributions to the Bring the Funk Fan Club. You can send your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. When we had to add some additional people, we had additional expenses. Everything that you saw there, the Ethernet, y'all, was almost $3,500. Then, of course, the space that we had, all of that stuff. So again, airfare, hotel rooms, gas, all of those things, and staff costs, again, amount to $55,000 for last week's Democratic National Convention coverage. So please support us by joining our Bring the Funk Fan Club. Every dollar we appreciate. The goal is to get, of course, 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each, which comes out to $1 million a year. Folks can't give that. They give less. We appreciate every dollar. Those who give more, we appreciate every dollar. And so we thank you for your support. We'll be right back.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, Dave.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Frank.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, y'all, it was always some drama. Of course, Donald Trump has been trying his best to get out of the September 10th debate on ABC with Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, today, there was a new one. The Trump team were like, hey, we want to stick to the previous agreed to rules to have all the mics muted. Now, President Biden's team, they negotiated that. Well, Vice President Kamala Harris was like, no, we good. No, y'all can leave the mics unmuted. And so it was back and forth. Her team issued a press release just slamming him big time for that. I thought it was hilarious what they posted, where they said that Trump's handlers prefer the muted microphone because they don't think their candidate can act presidential for 90 minutes on his own. We suspect Trump's team has not even been told their boss about this dispute because it would be too embarrassing to admit they don't think he can handle himself against Vice President Harris without the benefit of a mute button. The Vice President is ready to deal with Trump's constant lies and interruptions in real time. Trump should stop hiding behind the mute button. Well, later in the day, Trump actually was talking to somebody, and he was like, okay, I'm fine with the mics being open. So I bet his team was like, damn, he just screwed that one up. Derek, here's the whole deal. I love it. Leave the mics unmuted because we know he can't resist lying. He can't resist acting a damn fool. And so the Vice President's like, oh, please, baby, please, leave the mics open so I can light your ass up.
Well, Roland, the world knows that Trump is not a disciplined candidate. He can't help himself. And unlike any other debates, he's going against someone that he watched on last Thursday during her 37 minutes, just 37 minutes compared to his 98 minutes, gave the most professional, coherent case. She is a trained prosecutor. She's going to go for the jugular. She's going to balance it in the manner in which she will. She understands his type. She said that she understands his type. She knows how to press his button. And why wouldn't you want to have an open mic? So that way she can display during those 90 minutes of the debate something that was not done, as we all witnessed on June 27th. That was a different kind of debate. And so now he realized he's going to try to use whatever excuse he can. He doesn't like ABC. He doesn't like this. He doesn't like, he may not be able to stand on his 10 toes rolling for 90 minutes. They're going to come up with something to where I think they're not going to go show up on September 10th.
I think, Julian, this is part of the reason why the Trump people are scared to death. This, of course, was 2020 when then Senator Kamala Harris was debating Vice President Mike Pence.
Senator Harris?
Well, I mean, I thought we saw enough of it in last week's debate, but I think this is supposed to be a debate based on fact and truth. And the truth and the fact is Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well,
I'm speaking.
It'd be important if you said the truth. Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. That was tax cuts that gave the average working family $2,000 in a tax break every single year. Senator,
that is absolutely not true.
Is he only going to repeal part of the Trump tax cuts?
If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then have a conversation, okay?
Please.
Okay. Joe Biden will not raise taxes on anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year. He has been very clear about that. Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. Joe Biden is the one who, during the Great Recession, was responsible for the Recovery Act that brought America back. And now the Trump-Pence administration wants to take credit when they rode the coattails of Joe Biden's success for the economy that they had at the beginning of their term. Of course, now the economy is a complete disaster. But Joe Biden, on the one hand, did that. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who has reigned over a recession that is being compared to the Great Depression. On the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who was responsible with President Barack Obama for the Affordable Care Act, which brought health care to over 20 million Americans and protected people with pre-existing conditions. And what it also did is it saved those families who otherwise were going bankrupt because of hospital bills they could not afford. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who's in court right now, trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which means that you will lose protections if you have pre-existing conditions. And this is very important, Susan.
Yes,
and it's important.
We need to give Vice President.
I'd just like to, he interrupted me, and I'd like to just finish, please. If you have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, they're coming for you. If you love someone who has a pre-existing condition, they're coming for you. If you are under the age of 26 on your parents' coverage, they're coming for you.
Senator Harris?
Well, I think right there, Julian, the Trump people are like, Lord, we do not want that to happen. And Vice President Harris is like, baby, please, please, baby, please, baby, please, 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 let's go.
She's clearly not only a trained prosecutor, a great debater. She's at the top of her game, and nobody else over there in fantasy land is. And so Trump is scared. He's not scared. He's scared, as they say in the hood. He just cannot take it. Let the mic stay open. Let the mic stay open because, as his campaign has said, he can't behave himself for more than 5 minutes at a time. If she says something that irritates him, he's going to interrupt. But even if the mics are off, he has all those hand gestures and stuff like that. I mean, unless they stuff him with Prozac or something, he's going to act up. And so, and we know that he cannot act right. You can pay him to act right. You can say, Mr. Trump, if you behave for 30 minutes, you could be the president. Oh, well. So, as you said, that was a masterful. When she has the mic, she takes the mic. She takes control of the mic. Let me finish. I was talking. Just very, very clear. In addition, she brings the facts. Not all this drama, just facts. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you cut healthcare, this is who gets it. People had breast cancer, people had diabetes. She's laying it out there in ways that people can understand it. And so, no, they don't want that. They would prefer to have a clown show or to have what they had when Mr. Trump ran over President Biden, interrupted him, talking over him. And Brother Biden didn't have the the wherewithal. He was ill. There were some other issues, but he didn't have the whatever to just slap back. But I'll tell you what, Vice President Kamala Harris has the whatever to slap back. And so, no, they don't want this. They don't want this at all.
Well, again, I think. Listen, Joy, his folks know he's going to be sighing and making all sort of noises and stuff, and he's going to look like a complete fool. But he's already undercut them by saying, "Oh, I'm fine with the mics being on. So, all right, let's get it on."
Let's get it on. Let me tell you what, the other thing this campaign has been doing, the Harris-Walz campaign, they have been trolling him effectively. They do what our foreign adversaries do. They know how to get under his skin, play to his insecurities, of which there are many. They know what to do. They have been doing it all along. And one of the things they've also been saying is, don't cut the mic on him. Listen to him. He is his own worst enemy, as everyone has already said. When you look at his nomination speech, they were having a great convention, an enviable convention. And then he spoke for 98 whatever minutes and talked about Hannibal Lecter. I mean, the first couple of minutes he was on script, and then he went off and did himself. He literally cannot help himself. When he went to the Black journalists, he literally cannot help himself, and they know how to respond to it. So they have learned all the lessons that other people have made mistakes on. Hillary, whatever he does, if he tries to follow her, trust me, they are prepared for it. She knows what to do with the errant criminal, on the other side of the aisle. She is a prosecutor. They're ready for him, and they know it. And he's scared. I
love a lot of the ads that have been dropping that they are ready to hit these fools with. So y'all go ahead and roll the first one. All right, I sent y'all didn't pull the videos. All right, so I know Lincoln Project had one, and a couple other people had some videos. Did we pull those? All right. So let's do this here. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to come back. I'm going to play those for you. Then we're going to talk about this conservative group literally trying to use the Dred Scott decision to keep the VP off the ballot. Do these racist white folks know about the Dred Scott decision? Okay, we'll be back in a moment.
Next on A Balanced Life, we're talking everything from prayer to exercise to positive affirmations and everything that's needed to keep you strong and along your way. That's on a next A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, on Black Star Network.
Next on The Black Table with me, Greg Carr. We featured the brand new work of Professor Angie Porter, which, simply put, is a revolutionary reframing of the African experience in this country. It's the one legal article everyone, and I mean everyone, should read. Professor Porter and Dr. Valencia Watkins, our legal roundtable team, join us to explore the paper that I guarantee is going to prompt a major aha moment in our culture.
You crystallize it by saying, who are we to other people? Who are African people to others? Governance is our thing. Who are we to each other? The structures we create for ourselves, how we order the universe as African people.
That's next on The Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up? Geek Tony in the place to be. Got kicked out your mama's university, creator and executive producer of Fat Tuesdays, an air hip-hop comedy. But right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
All right, folks, there are a lot of social videos that have been produced that I think are pretty damn good. Here's one of them dropped moments ago for the Lincoln Project.
Last week in Chicago, Kamala Harris promised us a bold vision for America, a better, stronger nation. It was more than a speech. It was a reminder of what's at stake, a reminder of what we almost lost when Donald Trump was president, a reminder that we can have pride in our country, in our shared heritage, in the work Americans have done these last 4 years, and in the work that's yet to come. That America still has leaders ready to step up, continue to rebuild, and make a strong and prosperous nation, ready to secure our borders, protect our rights, and defend democracy both at home and abroad. To help America's middle class get ahead, give young people a financial future so they can raise families, purchase homes, and build legacies that will take the next generation forward. It was a reminder of what's on the line, what it costs to get here, and how Kamala Harris will lead us forward and never go back. Kamala Harris for our future. Kamala Harris for our kids. Kamala Harris for America. Kamala Harris for president.
Damn, Derek, that's a good ad.
Man, that thing is not only...
I give it to the Republicans with the Lincoln Project. They know how to do some damn ads.
Well, because, Roland, I mean, they understand that what we witnessed, not just last Thursday, but all last week, there was style and there was substance. But I also would like to recommend that I call it the PPE. Roland, they talked about the people, they talked about policy, and they talked about the economy. And they all culminized during her 37-minute speech, where she talked about foreign policy, domestic policy. She talked about people, the middle class, trying to build up and the middle out. She talked about policy. I mean, she got, granular down to the detail.
Right.
And then she talked about as a commander in chief. So she displayed the presidential side, Roland, and the commander in chief. In that these commercials were able to use, or they have something that they can use in these commercials.
Right. Julian, check this one out.
The numbers are in, Donald. Kamala Harris is a star, a real star. Her TV ratings bigger than yours by a lot. Her polls rising. Yours, limp. She's winning, Donald. She's better than you on TV, smarter, more charisma, a better speaker, more patriotic, more American, stronger. Even Fox News is hanging up on your crazy calls.
Mr. President, thank you so
very much, sir.
You've lost it, Donald, and you're about to lose everything.
I think, Julian, they are running that ad on the TV stations where Mar-a-Lago is.
I love it. I love it. The Lincoln Project, formerly serious Republicans, have basically looked at the facts and said, oh, hell no. We do not want that fool back in public office. We do not even know what he's going to say over a 30-minute period. And so we've got to move on. What's bothering me right now, Roland, though, more than anything, is these detractors. There's a guy, Patrick Healy of the New York Times. He wrote a piece saying, joy is not a platform. Well, we have joy and platform. We have them both. But you got all these little naysayers talking about, well, she has to give us more specifics. If you listen to those 37 minutes, you got specifics. You got $6,000 to go to parents of new families, new children. We got child tax credit, which has lifted so many young people, children out of poverty. We got that. I mean, we got the housing assistance. We've had a major housing problem in this country for the past really decade, as we see the housing shortage, and as a tax code that the Orange Man put in made it possible for corporations to buy individual houses and then basically take them off the market and jack them up. You got housing. I mean, you got education. You got, and I loved it that she code switches so well that while she smiles, and there's nothing wrong with smiling, but when she started talking about foreign policy, you saw the sternness in her. You saw that she was not playing. And so these folks who want to talk about, well, we need more specifics, well, then wait your behind up. You will get some more specifics because they've been putting specifics out there every single day. And so it's like I had to go into my thesaurus, Roland, to figure out what is the opposite of joy. Is it misery? And so do we want a campaign are people who wallow in misery, in wretchedness. That's what the opposite of joy is, and that's what those folks are peddling. Have you ever seen that man smile? You know I'm talking about, the orange man. Have you ever seen his teeth in anything but a clench? I mean, have you ever seen, so seriously, this is worrying them.
Yeah.
But we need to be, like Michelle says, she's going to get hit by slurs and lies. And that, you mentioned that Dred Scott nonsense.
Yeah, well, actually, no, hold on. I'm going to get to that in a second, so just hold on. Let me go here. First of all, Trump, he was doing all his different interviews, talking to different people. And then he was complaining about, of course, General John Kelly, who actually confirmed his losers and suckers comments about those in the media. And so here's this fool actually confirming that he confirmed it. Listen.
But they make up stories. And then one guy who's a very sort of a low-life guy, he is a low-life, they got one confirmation, and 26 people said it never happened. But the one confirmation was a guy that I fired, a terrible, stupid person, actually, that couldn't do the job well. And I fired him. And he sort of confirmed it. I don't know how he confirmed it, but he did. And it's a totally false story. Nobody would say that. And I would say this to military people. I'm the president of the United States. I say suckers and losers. They gave their life. And it's just a disgraceful story, Sean. And all I do is deny it. And I found
so here's the thing here, Joy. So he's trashing. Let's remind people. Retired General John Kelly was his chosen head of Homeland Security. Retired General John Kelly became his chief of staff. John Kelly is a 4-star general. He's like, well, I don't know how he confirmed it, because you were saying it to him. Yeah. And so he actually thinks he's looking good by trashing generals who disagree with him. And I'm laughing because the guys at Vote Vets, they posted this I thought was pretty interesting. This was a great graphic, and it said, days since Trump insulted our troops. 0.
That's right.
Go ahead, Joy.
0 days. And look, there's something else not to forget about John Kelly. He's also a Gold Star family. He lost his child, so who was serving. So I just think that it's distasteful for him to continue to disparage this war hero, even though I didn't agree with him on all of his policy. Found him to be very disrespectful on a number of issues. There's no doubt that this is someone who loves America and who is a war hero and who is competent. He is not an idiot. All these things that Donald Trump says. He confirmed it because that's what was being said to him. It's true. Let's move on. We know who Donald Trump is. It's not just what he said behind closed doors. It's what he said in public. We know that this is completely in keeping with his character. And let me just say something about those previous ads that you were talking about. Again, they are getting under his skin. This is CIA level ops, right? You know, Donald Trump is so predictable. We know how to get under his skin, how to encourage him to make an unforced error by saying things like, she's more popular than you. It's true.
Right.
He knows it's true, and saying it's true and putting it out there is it's an audience of one. And I think that's what the Lincoln Project is so good at. They are appealing to Republicans, but they're also appealing to Donald Trump.
Yep.
And they are causing him to atrophy, to stay off the campaign trail, to be at home talking to people at Mar-a-Lago about whether his campaign is going well or not, instead of his voters.
Well,
he is making a huge mistake. Yeah, it's because he's being trolled.
Well, check this out. The Harris-Walz campaign dropped this. More than 200 Bush, McCain, and Romney alumni endorsed Vice President Harris for president. They lay out in here all the different individuals. And also, remember, prominent conservative former federal appellate judge Michael Ludick also said he plans to vote for a Democrat for the first time ever. Now, ABC, in their story on this, quoted this retired general. You see, I'm going to go iPad, General Larry Ellis. You see the brother right here. who served in the rank under President George W. Bush, is endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. He's of course, was the commander of the U.S. Army Forces Command. This is the first time he's ever endorsed a candidate. This is what he said, Derek. Donald Trump has demonstrated that he is wholly and dangerously unfit for commander-in-chief. He praises and emboldens our enemies that seek to weaken our country. He has denigrated our brave men and women in uniform. He said that if any service member were to ever act just a bit like Trump, quote, then he or she will be immediately removed from the leadership position, admonished, and separated from military service.
You know, Roland, as a 22-year retired military officer myself, a lot of my former colleagues, those in the military, a lot of them voted for Trump in 2016. But the straw that broke the camel back, Roland, this time was January 6th. There is a silent code amongst us who served in the military, men and women who've donned that uniform. And Donald Trump broke that code when he got on his platform on January 6th in 2021. That was a bridge too far for a lot of military, not just Gold Star family, but military veterans and their families. And so that's the reason why you see top brass that has never done, as you just articulated, Roland, they never endorse. We typically don't endorse folks, but they're coming out and their driving motivator was because of what took place on January 6, 2021.
Absolutely. And so what you are seeing, folks, you are seeing, again, how this campaign is shaping up. I was telling you about this insane conservative group. They're claiming that Vice President Kamala Harris is not constitutionally eligible to run for president. The 90-year-old National Federation of Republican Assemblies, they literally are citing the 1857 Dred Scott Supreme Court decision, considered the worst Supreme Court decision ever. They're using that to say that Harris cannot run for president. In Dred Scott versus Sanford, it was declared that slaves weren't U.S. citizens and not protected by the federal government. According to the platform and policy document from the NFRA, the Constitution's description of presidential requirements disqualifies Harris entirely based on citizen requirements, which states that only natural-born citizens can hold the position. The document argues that Harris's parents were not American citizens at the time of their birth. The Dred Scott ruling was overturned by the 13th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution, which abolished slavery and declared all persons born in the United States to be citizens. They want the Supreme Court to review this. This shows you how you have nutcase deranged Republicans, Julian.
Nutcase deranged, but also fundamentally racist, ignorant, and try to go back. The Dred Scott decision said, paraphrasing, Black folks have no rights that whites are bound to respect. That was 1857. After some back and forth, no rights that whites are bound to respect. And these folks want to go back to that time, and you can tell that. But it's like the most far-fetched argument, even this Supreme Court, I would venture to say, even this Supreme Court, with all its madness, would not uphold anything like this. But they are grasping at straws, just like those January 6 people were, grasping at straws, unable and unwilling to deal with the realities of contemporary democracy, contemporary politics, just unwilling to deal with it. So, I mean, Roland, when I saw that, I laughed for a couple of minutes and I went back to read the Dred Scott decision because it's an important decision that we had to spend a lot of time overcoming. Blacks have no rights that whites are bound to respect. That's sobering.
I have no idea what these Republicans think they're doing, but that ain't gonna play well with Black folks, Joy.
No, it's not. But here's the thing: it's worked before, and it didn't work because he, ultimately he wasn't able to beat Barack Obama in any of his efforts, but he was able to mobilize them to hate us and to have a false sense. There are many people who still don't believe that Barack Obama is someone who was able to be president of the United States. And so they go back to the same playbook over and over and over again. It's laughable, it's ridiculous, but we cannot ignore it completely. We have to accept that there are people in the United States who will believe anything. They will do everything in their power to otherize anyone who is not white, changing our name, making it sound more exotic in their view than it is, doing all of those things. So we have to be very careful about this. We have to be monitoring and counteracting it on social media, and we just can't overlook it. This is a playbook that has worked for them in the past, and Republicans, we need them to counteract it as well. Yep. Kamala Harris is well qualified to be president.
Well, here's this, Derek. You've got these racist Republicans, Milo, whatever, Giannupa, whatever his name. I mean, he's been a violent racist. And, of course, Gavin McInnes, founder of the Proud Boys, another racist. They're going to be holding the roast of Kamala Harris at the University of South Carolina. We're going to talk about that in the next. I want to deal with that. But it shows you how these white racists, how they're operating, and some black folks who are University of South Carolina graduates want this to be shut down. Also, after the break, we're going to talk about Robert Kennedy Jr. He has endorsed Trump, but did he forget all the stuff he was saying about Trump just a couple of months ago? We didn't. It's receipt time. And the head coach of Auburn University basketball team, Bruce Pearl, attacks wokeness and calls Vice President Kamala Harris a socialist. Black parents, don't send y'all kids to play basketball at Auburn. I got something to say about that. That's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support our work. Join the Brina Funk fan club. Send your check and money order. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on A Balanced Life, we're talking everything from prayer to exercise to positive affirmations and everything that's needed to keep you strong and along your way. That's on A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, on Black Star Network.
Next on Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach. Women of color are starting 90% of the businesses in this country. That's the good news. The bad news, as a rule, we're not making nearly as much as everyone else. But joining us on the next Get Wealthy episode is Betty Hines. She's a business strategist, and she's showing women how to elevate other women.
I don't like to say this openly, but we're getting better at it. Women struggle with collaborating with each other. And for that reason, one of the things that I demonstrate in the sessions that I have is that you can go further together if you collaborate.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Hello, we're the Critter Fixers. I'm Dr. Bernard Hodges.
And I'm Dr. Terrence Ferguson.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, Robert Kennedy Jr. withdrew his name from some ballots in the country. On Fox News Sunday, he told anchor Shannon Bream, talked to him about his support for Donald Trump. And now former candidate said he will remove his name from ballots on states Harris needs to win to secure 270 electoral college votes in November, but he'll keep them on in swing states.
Negotiated over or talked about a cabinet position, another position within a Trump government in exchange for your endorsement?
No, there's been no commitments. But I met with President Trump, with his family, with his closer advisors, and we just made a general commitment that we were going to work together.
What about the states where you're trying to get off of a number of swing state ballots to say, I'm going to stay on a number of state ballots, but in these swing states, I'm going to try to withdraw myself and ask my supporters, or at least you're telling them, think about supporting President Trump. Did you negotiate over which states you would try to withdraw from?
Yeah, I mean, we all knew which states they were. There basically is 10 swing states where my presence in the race would have helped Vice President Harris and would have harmed President Trump. So I'm going to get off the ballot in those states, and then we're going to stay on the ballot in 30 states. And, you know, I'm encouraging people to vote for me in those states. Those are states where the votes, they're either all red or all blue states where their votes are not going to change the outcome of the race. But in the states where I would have been a spoiler, I'm going to get out. So it's about 10 states.
He needs to gargle some salt water. Okay. Now, he appeared at a rally in Arizona with Trump on Friday. Oh, how Trump is great. Trump is wonderful. Really? Did you say this about Trump?
Unfortunately, Donald Trump was wrong. He knew not to shut down our businesses. He knew about lockdowns. He knew about ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and his own bureaucrats told him to shut up. And he unfortunately did what he was told. And that's, you know, why he doesn't deserve another chance. And you may defend him on that, but...
I don't defend him on the vaccine or any of it. It became a country that I didn't recognize, and no one was willing to stop it.
He doesn't deserve another chance to Glenn Beck. Well, I'm going to come back and play for something with Glenn Beck, too. RFK also said this.
And his pick as vice president is a salute to the CIA and to the intelligence community and to the military-industrial complex. Their gravy train is going to continue.
And this.
I'm going to say one more thing. They haven't done a very good job about protecting public health, but they've done a very good job at using the quarantine to bring 5G into all of our communities and to shift us all, to begin the process of shifting us all to a digital currency, which is the beginning of slavery. Because if they control your bank account, they control your behavior. And we all see these advertisements on television saying 5G is coming to your community. It's going to be a great thing for all of you. It's going to change your lives. It's going to make all of your lives so much better. And it's very convincing, I have to say. Because I look at those ads and I think, that's great. I can hardly wait till it gets here. And then, because I'm going to be able to download a video game in 6 seconds instead of 16 seconds. And is that why they're spending $5 trillion on 5G? No. The reason is for surveillance and data harvesting. It's not for you and me. It's for Bill Gates. It's for Jeffrey Zuckerberg. And it's for Bezos and all of the other billionaires.
What the hell was that fool saying? Now, Fox News now loves Robert Kennedy Jr. But there was a time when they didn't.
RFK Jr. supports a national federal smart grid that would control how long we can keep the lights on in our homes, how long we can keep the water on. That is communism, not capitalism. President Trump opposes that, and I think the American people do.
Oh, who was that talking? Oh, that was Trump's press secretary. But now they love him. Oh, we're not done. Here's more of crazy, deranged Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
And his belief was that the HIV epidemic was not being, or the AIDS epidemic was not being caused by HIV. It was being caused by toxics, particularly toxics that gay men were exposing themselves to in this kind of party lifestyle. And particularly amyl nitrate or poppers were probably the most clear culprit in the epidemic of Kaposi sarcoma, which was the first signal of the AIDS issue, and I don't know whether you have a, he believes that HIV does not cause AIDS, that it's all caused by toxics. And I don't know if you adopt that kind of orthodoxy, but I know I'd love to hear your opinions on that. But also, I know that's consistent with a lot of things that you talk about, that the real problem is offensive insults in the environment that are empowering viruses to, to do damage to us that normally would be benign. If we had a healthy ecosystem inside and outside, polio wouldn't exist, and HIV wouldn't exist, and TB, and all of these other that have these kind of environmental connections.
But see, this is no shock when folks actually are speaking sanely and then they turn around and kiss Donald Trump's ass. Here's Trump's own vice president, J.D. Vance, talking about him before the Trump voodoo doll got to him.
I didn't vote for Trump. I'm never a Trump guy. I never liked him. It makes you think that at a fundamental level, this is sort of a he said, she said, right? And at the end of the day, do you believe Donald Trump, who always tells the truth? Just kidding. Or do you believe that woman on that tape?
I cannot stand Trump because I think he's a fraud. Well, I think he's a total fraud that is exploiting these people, who is a total fraud.
Like you said, I agree with you on Trump because I don't think that he's the person. I don't think he actually cares about folks.
So, as a conservative who thinks that Trump does not have the answers and isn't qualified to be president, what are you going to do this election, if you don't mind saying?
My current plan is to vote either third party, or as I joke to my wife, I might write in my dog, because that's about as good as it seems. But, I think there's a chance, if I feel like Trump has a really good chance of winning, that I might have to hold my nose and vote for Hillary Clinton. Ultimately, I think I'll probably vote third party. I might vote for this new guy who I really like, Evan McMullin, who I actually met the other day. But I think that I'm going to vote third party because I can't stomach Trump. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place.
So do y'all see what happens when you sell your soul? Do you see what happens when you are willing to give up any morals, values, principles, and ethics? That's literally what we are looking at there, Julian, plain and simple. They have sold their soul to the devil and his imps, Donald Trump and his followers.
Neither J.D. Vance nor Donald Trump has any self-respect. Why would you ask somebody to be on your ticket who has talked about you like that, who's basically said you didn't trust you? How do you ask somebody to be on your ticket like that? But that's Trump has no self-respect.
Well, easy. When they express fealty to you, when they bow down and kiss your ring, kiss your feet, you're like, okay, little boy, great job, come along.
There you have it. But at the same time, Roland, what we have to look at is that this guy, J.D. Vance, is not stupid. He's not, he's venal. He wants power. He's 39 years old. He's been tapped to be the VP to a man that he says he detests. Okay, to a man that he says he detests.
Yep.
But the price for being on that ticket is to lie out of all sides of his mouth, to say, oh, yeah, he's a great guy, he's a good guy. He can't explain that. They keep talking about Kamala can't explain policy inconsistencies. Can he explain why he is on this ticket?
Yeah, he can. He can. Power. It's about kissing ass. That's all it is. And again, the same thing applies, Joy, to all of these Republican commentators. I remember Hugh Hewitt, Mark Levin, Glenn Beck, all of them were speaking out against Trump. Oh, now they're just, oh my God, if we don't elect Trump, the world's going to go to pot. Here is that idiot Glenn Beck. This is what he actually had to say about Trump before he became president. Listen.
Donald Trump is the face of the GOP. Well, that makes us crony capitalists. It makes us wafflers. It makes us pretty racist. It makes us big government guys. It just, you name it. It makes us that. Well, I'm none of those things. And so I can't say, well, these are my friends, because that's my future. I won't tolerate it. I don't want my children to look at that man and say, yeah, he's my president. I won't have that. I will not endorse it. I will not tolerate it. And I refuse to have my children think that I tolerated that. I won't.
Really? Really? I find that to be really, really interesting and rich coming from Glenn Beck, because the same Glenn Beck said this year.
We're at a critical junction. This is where the train track splits forever. You know, if we lose this election, I truly believe we've lost the country. This isn't just the most important election of our life, which they always say. This could very well be the last free election in an America that we have understood for 250 years. If we lose this election, we may not make it as a constitutional republic by 2026. That's not hyperbole.
And he's not talking about supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. But, Joy, this goes to show you who they are. They will sell their soul because if they go against him, they lose their ratings.
That is correct. This is about money. This is about power. This is about ratings. That's all. Because when they thought it wasn't advantageous to them, they told, really, if you listen to them, a more heartfelt truth, that they're disgusted by this man. Anyone with eyes would be disgusted by this man, with ears would be disgusted by this man, but they are afraid. They know what happens if you don't support Donald Trump. They have chosen to go with the cult.
Yep.
We know that has happened here. And so, the question isn't so much what they're saying is, if you're a moderate, which side are you on? You couldn't possibly, don't go pull a lever for Donald Trump. Don't go do that. That's what we've got. We've got to appeal to them, and that's what was great about this DNC convention. They spoke to that.
Derek, real quick.
I find it interesting because when you find individuals like Peggy Noonan. Yeah, Peggy Noonan. She goes, well, the Democrats stole family values and patriotism and all that. No, what you all did not hold Donald Trump accountable. And when you got folks like her, you got folks like, as you stated, Roland, Glenn Beck. I mean, heck, our governor right here in Georgia, Brian Kemp. I mean, Donald Trump about the man's wife. And now you got Brian Kemp cozying up with Trump.
Yep.
And so there was a time where flip-floppers, it was a death cross, but not today, because they're willing to kiss the ring and become obsequious to the degree.
Before I talk about the University of South Carolina having two racists attack the vice president, this is what the Kennedy family had to say about that idiot Robert Kennedy Jr. endorsing Trump. It says that statement of Robert Kennedy Jr.'s announcement today: "We want an America filled with hope and bound together by a shared vision of a brighter future, a future defined by individual freedom, economic promise, and national pride. We believe in the Harris and Walls. Our brother Bobby's decision to endorse Trump today is a betrayal of the values that our father and our family hold most dear. It is a sad ending to a sad story." Signed by Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, former, of course, governor of Maryland, Courtney Kennedy, Kerry Kennedy, Chris Kennedy, and Rory Kennedy. And Kerry Kennedy and others have vowed to campaign for Vice President Kamala Harris, Governor Tim Walz. I told you earlier about what the racists are doing in South Carolina. A student organization is bringing them in for this Uncensored America. They're hosting a comedy roast where two of the speakers are white supremacists. The subject of this roast is, of course, Democratic nominee Vice President Kamala Harris. It lists Gavin McInnes, the founder of the white supremacist group, the Proud Boys, as one of the speakers. It also listens this other fool, Milo, I never can pronounce his last name, but he's also a violent racist and just absolutely nuts. Courtney McLean is a 2023 graduate of University of South Carolina, also executive chair of the South Carolina NAACP Young Adult Committee. She joins us now. She created a change.org petition to stop the event from happening. Glad to have you here. What has been the response thus far of this shameful, despicable, and frankly, gross planned roast, Courtney?
Yes. So, of course, plenty of students, alumni, donors, and community members are very outraged at what is going on. Students are hoping that they can take some direct action on campus, but some of them are feeling afraid to do so due to previous actions taken by the university last summer when students decided to speak out. So as of right now, we are trying to make sure that students feel comfortable on campus, as well as making sure to maintain the pressure on President Emeritus and the Board of Trustees to get this event removed off campus.
It sort of reminds me of when the racist, I forgot that fool name, he came to Texas A&M University, and we put Richard Spencer. And this is what these fools do. And then what they do is they want to blow this thing up, make it huge, and they get people outraged. Then it gets canceled to say, oh, see, there's no free speech in America. This is cancel culture. That's always their aim.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. Currently online, both the student organization and the speakers are harassing people using slurs, sexism, racism, and they even attacked one of our notable alumni, Bakari Sellers, with a homophobic slur. I have gotten some things directed to me from Milo and the student organization as well. So what they're really going to do is really troll people, get them to engage with them, really use rage bait, I would say, and really just trying to make this so much more chaotic and really hiding behind the use of free speech in order to spread hate on this campus.
Well, and look, that's their goal, and they want to do this, and so, and they have no problem appealing to the racist in the Republican Party. That's what their goal is, because that's how they built their names. That's how they make their money.
Yes, I think the biggest disappointing thing is seeing the university say that this type of organization and these types of speakers are allowed to have a freedom of speech on campus. And it is sad to say that our university is really indirectly endorsing this event, because not only are you allowing them to use the facilities, which is one of the nicest facilities on our campus, but you are allowing them to bring people who have a history of violence, of sexism, of homophobia, of racism, and creating a toxic environment for these students. And those of us who are wanting to speak out, wanting to demonstrate, we are really kind of pushed over to the side and told that don't really matter. All of the emails that people have been sending, now the university has an automated response. So when you send an email, you're not even speaking directly to a representative anymore. They are directly sending you an automated response. And I've gotten about 4 different of those emails from people sending me the response that they got, and they were all identical.
Well, in fact, this is Milo targeting you, introducing Miss Courtney McLean. So he posted this video here and I haven't played the video. And then, of course, when you click it, you see the comments underneath here, and then you see folks attacking you. You see folks dogging you. But that's what these folks do. I mean, it's all about trashing. It's all about bringing their racist points of view to the table. That's exactly what their goal is. And so, and again, that's what's going on here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the biggest thing with the petition, so originally we really just wanted 1,000 signatures, but thankfully we have surpassed that number, and we continue to get an outpouring of support from alumni, from donors, from media, and really wanting to amplify what we have going on at the university, because this is not a singular incident. This is an occurrence with a larger problem that the university has. And as a student activist, I have been able to see a plethora of social movements occurring on campus, and the majority of them are all surrounded by just wanting to have a positive representation for minorities, a positive environment for us. And the university, every single time, either puts out some type of statement about diversity or say that the person coming to campus, that it is free speech and they can't do anything about it. So oftentimes our movements, like when we had the Black Student Matter movement, they came to the protests and they listened, and then nothing else changed after that. And when I was in student senate as a student senator, there was actually some senators who engaged in racist and homophobic rhetoric. And when we tried to dispel them from Senate, the university said that that was their free speech to say these degradation and all these negative things about senators and student leaders that were part of the body. So this is not anything new. And we also cannot forget that they also allowed Governor McMaster to bring Donald Trump during the largest game of the season onto the field without consulting students, without consulting alumni, without consulting owners. And a lot of people were caught off guard by this because he is a very divisive character. So this university and the shenanigans that I like to call them now, this is not new at all.
Questions for the panel. Derek, you first.
I appreciate the effort that you're doing, and I salute you. But if you can't stop this event, what's next?
So currently, students are organizing a unity event that will likely be held on the same day as the Uncensored America event. And we're trying to incorporate voter registration, voter education, invite all of the minority organizations on campus, and also invite like different speakers and different representatives, because the Black Caucus of South Carolina has said that they would like to join us. So being able to create a space that celebrates diversity instead of giving all of our attention to an event that is trying to degrade it and really demolish what this university is built on, that is what we're trying to currently do, because the university is really sticking to that they can't cancel this event. So we're going to counter that event.
This is Joy. I'm gonna jump in here. I mean, I would love for just to put the ad back up, because I really want people to look at it. And if you are a moderate out there, maybe you're a moderate watching this show, maybe, making a case to them, this is who's representing you. Kamala, spelled C-U-M. The ads that were out there chastising this young lady, the nasty things, I only caught a glimpse, but it was clear. These are sexually threatening ads, sexually threatening comments. And so freedom of speech aside, the question, is this the party you want to support? Is this the party that you want your daughters to have to endure, your sons to have to endure, as an example, a reflection of who they are? This is trash. This isn't becoming, and it's certainly not about family values. Certainly not. So,
Courtney?
I am so sorry this happened to you. I am so sorry that this happened to you.
Courtney, your response?
I want everyone else to...
Hold on one second. Courtney, your response.
Yes. So luckily for me, I've been doing this for a while, so I've been able to get thick skin, especially being a Black woman in South Carolina. It is not easy just existing. So when I am faced with these type of adversities from online trolls, I really take it with a grain of salt, because if you don't have any haters, then you're not doing anything right. And the fact that they are taking it upon themselves, taking time out of their day to try to degrade me and try to make it seem like I'm less than what I am, that is in itself a win for me, because they are threatened by what I have to say and by the movement that we are creating, because we will continue to push this movement, regardless of whether the university wants to continue saying that it is a free speech issue or whatever other excuse they're going to come up with. We will continue to counter this, and we will have action and hold the university accountable.
Julian?
Courtney, first of all, I'm very proud of you. I really appreciate the work you're doing and your resilience Secondly, I want, the history of Black women in this country is that we have frequently been sexualized. We were, all kind of words, we're not even going to repeat them, but we have been sexualized. What's so objectionable here is a woman who is likely to be the president of the United States has been dealt with in sexual terms. But we have to remember, and I'm not disrespecting your state, but this is the state of South Carolina that flew the Confederate flag until a young sister climbed up and took the darn thing down. I mean, this is a state that of the state of Strom Thurmond, and we can go on and on and on. Help us. What gives you strength? This is, the odds that you face are daunting. Your president has been tone deaf, quite frankly. I mean, the people could have the whatever they're doing, but it should not be on campus. It should not happen on campus. If you want to go be, for want of a better word, jackasses somewhere in South Carolina, I'm sure they have many halls, public places where they can do this. To do it on campus is a slap in the face.
Courtney, Courtney, please answer.
Yes, and one of the things that the university prides itself on is the Carolinian Creed. That is something that we are given our freshman year that we are to recite. And one of the main principles of that is discouraging bigotry and respecting the dignity of others. And this event is directly in contradiction to that. But of course, the university is saying that this creed is not enforceable. So therefore, they are putting out a statement to make it seem like they are supportive of diversity, to make it seem like they are going to be an environment that is healthy for minority students. But obviously it is not, because they are allowing for events like this to occur and allowing for our alumni, our students, for our Carolina community, for them to be attacked by this organization online. And I'm sure some people have also experienced experience of racism in person, because just last year, during the height of the Black Student Matter movement, students came out and said that they were being called slurs on the way to games, that they were being called slurs in their dorms, that they had interactions with students in the library, having students walk out of elevators, seeing that it was a Black person coming in. This is not something new with the university, and seeing that they are directly contradicting with the creed that they wrote, that they published, and that they are very prideful to have, it shows where this university stands on this issue, and it shows the facade and how we are finally poking holes in what they have continued to perpetrate for years and years and years now.
And of course, university released their statement. They said, thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts with the Office of the President. University of South Carolina allows recognized student groups to invite speakers of their choosing to campus. This is a long-standing tradition and is meant to foster student-led inquiry and debate. Please know that these appearances in no way represent an endorsement by the university of any individual speaker's message. We honor constitutionally protected speech. We have resources available to help students learn more about civil discussion and debate in a manner that allows everyone to exercise their First Amendment rights. Please feel free to visit the Free Speech on the Campus page on our website to learn more. We thank you again for sharing this feedback to the Office of the President, University of South Carolina. Well, Courtney, good luck. When is it supposed to take place?
It's supposed to take place on September 18th. And as we get everything together for the Unity event, it will likely be held, if not the same date, very, very soon. And I will definitely be posting about that as well. Cool. And I would love to have anyone who is currently watching, if you would like to help fund the event, would like to come speak at the event and just show support for students, that we would love to have you there.
All right. Keep us updated. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we come back. Of course, Black and Missing. We'll talk about that. Plus, the cop that shot that Black Air Force Airman in Florida, now been charged. We'll tell you about that as well. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds. As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, Dave.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Trudy Proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Darren Harrison has been missing from his Manteno, Illinois home since July 23rd. The 15-year-old is 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighs 244 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information about Darren Harrison should call the Kankakee County, Illinois Sheriff's Office at 815-933-3311, 815-933-3341. The former Florida deputy who killed a black U.S. Air Force senior airman is facing charges related to the incident. Eddie Duran is charged with 1 count of manslaughter with a firearm for the May 3rd shooting of Roger Fortson, who was killed in his own home. The 23-year-old serviceman was in his home in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, when Duran responded to the apartment for a call reporting a domestic disturbance. However, Fortson was alone in the apartment. Body camera footage released by the sheriff's office shows Fortson holding a gun in his right hand with his arm extended downward and the muzzle pointing at the floor as he opens the door. The video also shows Fortson had his left hand up, palm showing, gesturing towards the deputy when he opened the door. Duran shot Fortson within seconds of the door opening. He's facing a maximum sentence of 30 years. Your thoughts, Julian?
Hey, overtime. This is ridiculous. This young brother was minding his business, talking to his girlfriend on whatever. I don't know where the disturbance thing came from, but this deputy should have had enough sense with the gun pointed downward to order the man to drop the gun and do something else. Yet another case of just breathing while black.
And this example here, Joe, again, the cop shows up. He immediately opens fire. He doesn't, I mean, you look at the video, we played it before, doesn't even order him to drop it. He immediately starts shooting.
That's right. I mean, this is also a juxtaposition. We're having Kamala Harris at this pinnacle of her career, and then we're still seeing us be gunned down in our communities by people that we pay their salaries through our tax dollars. We have so much work to do in this country, so much work to do. So I'm so glad, Roland, that you're continuing to highlight it. But this just shows to you we have come a long way, but we are not there yet. And everyone has to go and vote so we can see a change in some of the police policies that we have on the ground.
Derek?
This is what justice looks like, Roland. And although this police officer was just recently charged, he only represents the 2% that's typically charged in matters such as this.
Well, not fully justice, only charged. Justice is him getting convicted and then sentenced to prison. All right, folks, a second former Tennessee police officer pleads guilty for his role in the 2023 beating death of black motorist Tyree Nichols in Memphis. Emmett Martin is facing up to 40 years after pleading guilty to federal civil rights violations of Nichols. Martin entered his change of plea before U.S. District Judge Mark Norris in Memphis under an agreement with prosecutors. He pleaded guilty to excessive force and witness tampering charges. His sentencing is set for December 5th. 3 former officers still face trial in federal court next month, and 2 former colleagues could testify against them. Nichols died in a hospital on January 10, 2023, 3 days after he was kicked, punched, and hit with a police baton after a traffic stop. The officers said they pulled Nichols over because he was driving recklessly, but Police Chief Cyrilene Davis said no evidence was found to support that allegation. Police video showed the officers beating Nichols as he yelled for his mother about a block away from their home. The video also shows the officers milling about and talking with each other as Nichols struggled with his injuries. This right here, Derek, is a cop who realizes, you know what, we're guilty. Let me just plead to save my butt.
Yeah, again, Roland, this is just another travesty. And it has nothing to do with that these police officers are black. This simply is another illustration when law enforcement abuse their oath and go too far with their abusive tactics when it comes down to killing an innocent citizen.
Joy?
Yeah, let me just say, justice really would be none of these things happening to begin with, because this does not happen to white people. This happens to black people, in particular black men, and black women too, frankly. So justice would be not just getting them off the streets once they've done these types of crimes, but these people are losing their lives. They're dead. Justice would be us getting in front of this and creating an incentive where these officers will police themselves.
Julian?
You know, looking at the video, it spins chills down your spine to look at that man being beaten like that, recklessly beating. Another piece of this is the fact that all the officers being charged, 5 of them or 6, were all African American. So this is in some way, the blackness does not trump police culture. And that's the thing, that's what has to be changed, is police culture. The notion that you have the nerve to think that you can beat somebody like that and it's okay. Joy is right. It's not only about voting. It's really about changing police culture, because so many of our people are dying because these people are out of control.
Folks, let's go to this next story here. A federal judge says Breonna Taylor would be alive today if her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, never fired shots at the officers executing a no-knock warrant in the middle of the night. Judge Charles Simpson III dismissed major felony charges against 2 former Louisville police officers, Joshua James and Kyle Meany, who were accused of falsifying a warrant that led police to Taylor's door before they fatally shot her during the March 2020 botched raid. Simpson's ruling declared that the actions of Taylor's boyfriend were the legal cause of her death, not a bad warrant. The charge would have been a violation of Taylor's civil rights to be free from an unreasonable search. It was the charge against both former officers that claimed their action in obtaining a no-knock search warrant led to her death. The charge was dismissed without prejudice against both James and Meany. Meany is still facing a charge of making a false statement to federal investigators, while James is still charged with falsifying records in a federal investigation, conspiracy to falsify records, and witness tampering. Both men's attorneys had also filed to have other charges dropped, but Judge Simpson denied those. The reason this is nuts to me, Julian, is if you don't falsify the warrant, there is no shooting. So this idea that it was the boyfriend's fault, and also, I'm sorry, aren't we living in these, free to carry states, open carry states? You're in your home. Someone's busting in. Your immediate thought is, I'm being attacked, so you fire. This is crazy.
It is crazy. What we know is going on here is that very rarely are police charged. When they are charged, judges who are part of their same criminal conspiracy try to basically exonerate these officers. So that saying that the boyfriend was responsible is unadulterated bullshit. Let me just say that, unadulterated bullshit. And hopefully there's an appeal process available. Hopefully this doesn't go away. I know Tamika Mallory and many others have rallied around Breonna Taylor, and as we all should. This is yet another example of police misconduct at best, murder at worst.
Joy.
Sorry, this is exactly what we've been saying. This is a cultural issue. The notion that the NRA isn't coming out and defending this man fervently is further examples that they're not a serious organization and they're racist too. The fact of the matter is we do not believe Black people have the same rights We talked about the decision earlier today. We do not believe Black people have the same rights, any rights that a white person is bound to honor. That is still not the law of the land, but that is the culture of the land, and we have to disrupt that.
Derek?
You know, where do our civil rights and Second Amendment rights begin where there is end? This is clear where they're creating a narrative, Roland, where the victims are the cause. They went to the wrong apartment, Roland. They went to the wrong apartment.
Wrong apartment and falsify the warrant. If you don't do those two things, no need for him to shoot. She's alive.
That's right. That's right. And so it's just incredulous that the boyfriend, they're saying, is the cause of Breonna Taylor's death. I mean, she's a registered nurse. She was in the right place at the right time in her own home, sleeping, 1 a.m. And they did a no-knock warrant, went to the wrong place. And now you're going to try to hold the boyfriend account to her death? It's just appalling.
Check this out, y'all. So remember those 6 cops in Mississippi who pled guilty to torturing 2 black men? Again, they pled guilty. Well, check this out, y'all. Brett McAlpin, go to my iPad. He's one of those 6 white cops. Of course, he now is appealing his sentence. Now, the officers got sentences ranging from 10 to 40 years. He got hit with 27 years, the second longest sentence. Check this out. His attorneys call it unreasonable because they say he waited in the truck of the other officers carrying out the torture. So that's just unfair. Well, I'm sorry. What happens in these cases, Derek, is when you plead guilty, it's kind of up to the judge. So this whole deal of trying to appeal your sentence, sorry, dude, you were there. You could have stopped it. You didn't.
And he is an accessory to the crime, Roland. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. It has nothing to do with if you were inside the building, outside the building, in the car. I mean, he was part of this situation. And so there's a level of accountability and responsibility that should be placed. And he said he was guilty. So to your point, he's guilty.
Check this out. Check this out, Julian. U.S. District Judge Tom Lee called the former officer's actions egregious and despicable and gave sentences near the top of federal guidelines to 5 of the 6 men who attacked Jenkins and Parker. Quote, the depravity of the crimes committed by these defendants cannot be overstated, Merrick Garland said after federal sentencing the 6 former officers. I mean, here's the whole deal. When you plead guilty, it's no longer in your hands.
Exactly. No, you know, these guys, they're bad actors. We know that. 27 years is a small price to pay for what they did to those black men. A small price to pay. He need to get on his knees every morning and say, Lord, thank you for not giving me 40 years. That's what needs to be happening. What we see is a systematic devaluation of black lives. So when people talk about why do you say black lives matter? Because that shows you that for some people, black lives do not matter.
Check this out. Go back to my iPad. Cooperstein is asking, this is the attorney for McAlpin, is asking the appeals court to toss out his sentence and order a district judge to set a shorter one. He wrote, quote, the collective weight of all the bad deeds of the night piled up in the memory and impressions of the court and the public so that Brett McAlpin's sentence last bore the brunt of all that others had done. Now, he apologized before he was sentenced, but he never looked at the victims as he spoke. He said this was all wrong, very wrong. It's not how people should treat each other. And even more so, it's not how law enforcement should treat people. I'm really sorry for being a part of something that made law enforcement look so bad. Now, here's what's crazy. Federal prosecutors said McAlpin was one who molded these individuals. He was not a part of the goon squad, but he said that he acted sort of as a mafia don as he instructed officers throughout the evening. Other deputies tried to impress McAlpin, and one of the other officers said his client saw McAlpin as a father figure. Guess what, player? You got to accept the blame because you were right there, and they were doing it for you.
Correct. Many a person is in jail because they were a part of a conspiracy, a part of a crime that was happening, and someone else pulled the trigger, but they were there. And they get caught up and get the same sentence, maybe even a worse sentence. This is how it works. So if it's a problem for him, it has to be a problem for every black kid out there, every of any race person out there who's gotten caught up in the same system that says if you're there and you're a part of the crime, you're guilty for all parts of the crime.
Absolutely.
This is how it works. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm sick of this guy.
Well, speaking of somebody I'm sick of, I'm gonna deal with them. We come up for this quick break, and that is Auburn basketball coach Bruce Pearl. Let me just say, when I got back, I got a couple of words for him. Back in a moment.
On the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. We featured the brand new work of Professor Angie Porter, which, simply put, is a revolutionary reframing of the African experience in this country. It's the one legal article everyone, and I mean everyone, should read. Professor Porter and Dr. Valencia Watkins, our legal roundtable team, join us to explore the paper that I guarantee is going to prompt a major aha moment in our culture.
You crystallize it by saying, who are we to other people? Who are African people to others? Governance is our thing. Who are we to each other? The structures we create for ourselves, how we order the universe as African people.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
The coaching profession has always had conservatives, Republicans. You think about Lou Holtz. You think about Bobby Bowden. Of course, Tommy Tuberville, who's now the United States Senate from Alabama. But then you got these MAGA supporting folks. And what's always interesting is that these individuals have made millions of dollars off the backs of black players. Who is the latest? Auburn basketball coach Bruce Pearl. This is the tweet that Bruce Pearl posted today. Y'all got the tweet? Pull it up. Okay, don't have the tweet. All right, let me find it myself. Okay, so, okay, give me 1 second. I saw this tweet, and of course, I had to comment on this here. And so, now, he's tweeted a lot of stuff in support of Israel. I get it, understand that. But then he decided to make this here. So he was responding to racist Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. This is what Pearl tweeted. Thank you for pointing this out, Senator Cotton. Except my guess is that, like many of her socialist, woke, progressive beliefs, she's now changing them or hiding them to get elected. We won't get fooled again. This is somebody who coaches a nearly all-black team in Auburn, Alabama. This is somebody who makes millions of dollars off the work of black ball players. So if I'm an Auburn player, or if I'm a black parent and my son has Auburn on their list, ain't no way in hell he gonna play for that coach. Ain't no way in hell he going there. He's calling Vice President Kamala Harris a socialist. Ooh, woke progressive beliefs. Without black ball players, you lose. Now, let's also remember, Bruce Pearl is a notorious cheat. He was a cheater at Tennessee. He got slapped by the NAACP for cheating, a show cause. He also has cheated at Auburn. So we know exactly who Bruce Pearl is. But see, this is one of those things where black parents should say, son, there are other SEC schools you can go to. You don't have to go to Auburn. And there's no way in hell I would allow my son, my nephew, to play ball under an idiot like that. If he wants to call the Vice President of the United States that, then, what else is he saying in private? I wonder what he has to say to Charles Barkley, an Auburn graduate, who has castigated and called out Donald Trump. See, the only way you affect these things is when black ball players have the guts to publicly say, I'm not coming. If they have some top basketball players who've already committed to Auburn, decommit, I guarantee you there are other top programs that will gladly take your talents. But Bruce Pearl, nah, shut his ass down. Because this crap that he just posted is shameful and despicable. And you know what happens? If his behind starts losing, they will cut him and send him on his way. Derek?
You know, Roland, I was just thinking that those 12 or however many basketball players that are black on that team of the 12 walk into the AD, the athletic director's office, and say, we're not playing for Coach Pearl. And just give them the reason. Just say, just hold up the tweet, Roland. See, because we have to take a stance now. And it's one thing to say the quiet parts out loud, but it's something else that someone like him in his position can say to Senator Cotton, thank you for giving me the opportunity and the reason to show my true colors.
Joy?
Let me tell you, and it's not just these black players. I don't want to put it all on them. It's any star player.
First of all, Joy, ain't no other players on the team but black players.
Right, but it's not just them.
You just said star players. Ain't no other star basketball players on the team except black dudes.
Fair enough, but it's got to be the whole athletic program too, saying that anyone who's playing with this person, he's a leader at that school. He's not just over the basketball team. He is a leader at that school, setting the tone, and other coaches that are alongside him. We need them to stand up against him as well. We need everyone to say, he's not for us, not because he doesn't support Kamala Harris. Nobody cares about that. It's because of the way he's speaking, the way he's talking. And if that's what he'll do in public, God knows what he's saying in private. There can be no space for this type of person in the leadership of your operation.
Julian?
I absolutely agree with Joy. I mean, it's despicable. And you're right, Roland, the players need to walk off. Obviously, actions have consequences, but some of them have to have more conscious than dealing with the consequences. In many of our elite universities, we see this time and time again, smiling in public, racist zings in private. We're just lucky that the tweet got out or the email got out, but that shouldn't be the end of it. That truly shouldn't be the end of it. Derek is right. Go to the AD, make some noise, and basically the AD and or the university president to say to the university president, this is what you got here. We don't need to win games so badly that we will condone a race. We don't need to win that battle. And somebody else can coach, because actually these brothers on this team, they've got the talent. I won't say coaches are a dime a dozen because most of them make a couple mil, but they can be replaced.
Well, he makes more than a couple $1 million. But I'm just going to tell you right now, bottom line, if I'm a parent and my son is there, we have a serious conversation with the coach. And again, if he's recruiting my child, I'm gonna sit there and say, player, you can stop calling and texting. Ain't nowhere in hell we going to Auburn. It ain't gonna happen. All right. Joy, Julian, and Derek, I appreciate y'all being on today's panel. Thank you so very much. Hey, folks, don't forget, we need your support for the work that we do. Lots of things that are coming up. We're going to be on the road, traveling the country. We were just in Chicago last week. I initially estimated $25,000. It actually cost us $55,000 for all of our coverage, for all of the expenses, airfare, hotel, staffing, food, all that sort of stuff we did. And so, again, your dollars are crucially important. The goal, we're about $350,000 down from our goal. The goal, of course, is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each, which raises $1 million. And that's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. And so whatever dollar amount you can give, we appreciate every single amount. You can send your check and money order. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Also, be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, The Browning of America, Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available bookstores nationwide. Download the audio version on Audible. Also, folks, on Saturday, I had a live stream with Jermaine Dupree. We talked about a controversial video that he had posted. We had that conversation on Instagram. I'm going to have that for you tomorrow. We'll play it for you on the show, and we'll talk about it right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Folks, I'll see you then. Y'all be well. And don't forget, again, you can get this T-shirt from Georgia Stand Up. Think, act, strategize, organize, mobilize, stand up. And the T-shirt that I had about supporting black women, hold on. Let me get that. Let me show that to you. Because they sent me the shirt. Let me move this chair back. Some of y'all asked me about this here. And so remember, I wore this on the show. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure that we have the website. 1 second. 1 second. All of y'all on YouTube, hit the like button as well, please. More than 5,000 y'all been watching today. We should easily have 5,000 likes on this. So this is the shirt I wore. And of course, the shirt says, elect black women, elect hashtag black women, fund black women, believe black women, invest in black women, follow black women, defend black women, hire black women, promote black women, respect black women, stand up and vote for black women. And of course, that's what the front of the shirt says. The back of the shirt said, Vote 2024. You can actually go to their website, georgiastandup.org, georgiastandup.org, to actually get you this shirt. So they have this shirt as a, go to my iPad, they have this shirt as a t-shirt. They also have it, I think, as a hoodie. I got a hoodie at home of this t-shirt. And then they also have, of course, this is used for them to raise money. They're a grassroots organization there in Georgia. They also have these here, Stand Up and Vote shirt. You say it's right here, we do make the difference. And then, of course, on the back, it says vote. So they have this as a t-shirt, and they have this as a hoodie as well. And so I have both of those. And so Deborah Scott does a great job with them. I was, of course, when I wore the shirt, she was like, hey, we got to get some more made. And I'm like, yes, you do. And so, again, that's Georgia Stand Up. Deborah Scott, she's a leader of them. So, again, if you want to get that T-shirt or even get this T-shirt, go to georgiastandup.org, georgiastandup.org. Support their work. The money raised from these T-shirts goes to fund the grassroots campaign. Georgia's the state that we're going to need. And so the work that they do is critically important. We did a lot of work with them in 2020 and 2022. We did work with them. We also did work with, of course, Helen Butler with the Coalition for the People's Agenda as well, and the Black Women's Roundtable. And so please support the work that they do. All right, y'all, I will see y'all tomorrow. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?